For me, I want at the end of my life, I want to say like, dang, you really did that. You did not play it small. Anything that you wanted to do, even if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, you tried it. You at least did it. Is that everything that I have done, like any big leap of faith that I have done where I didn't get much of applause or much validation from, has been the most life-changing thing for me. Hello everyone, welcome back to Brianna Thizard's Journey. I am back with another episode. If you are new to my channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I post a video every Sunday and I just talk about my overall life journey. And so we are gonna get right into it. Today's topic is gonna be about validation and really just living the life that you wanna live. And so I want to get into kind of a backstory. We're going to kind of do a build up. So I would say growing up, I was always that kid that just always listened. I rarely got in trouble, was always applauded. And yeah, it was just pretty much I was told something like, do this, do that, do this, do that. Like basically my path was directed and I just followed. And so I want to say once I got to college, that was when I started just questioning life in general. And so I think based off of, your family dynamic, people that are around you, how you were raised, you kind of have an idea of what life is supposed to look like. And so for me personally, in general, what I was around was, you go to school, you get a degree, you get married, you have a good career, you may have a business on the side, and have a family, and that's pretty much what life is. And so in my mind, I always had that thought process of these are the steps and this is how it's supposed to be done. And then when I got to school, I just realized there were just so many things that I thought were a certain way, but I just didn't resonate with them. So one, for instance, was I know specifically in my culture, I'm Caribbean American, Guyanese, and Haitian, and so a lot of times if you're Caribbean, if you're West African, or just honestly international, a lot of times our family members are like, listen, you need to major in something that's gonna make you some money. And so I majored in computer science, but when I was in college, I was like, wait, hold on. I do not like this major. I do not like what I'm doing. This is not fulfilling at all. And I just started to get this sense of, I feel like I'm called to give back to people. That's kind of the work that I feel like I want to do. And so I remember during the time when I was in college, one of my girlfriends and we created a nonprofit called Vision 1804. And that's when we were providing the educational resources and supplies to youth in Haiti. And so that was so fulfilling. I would remember after finishing my homework and, all the schoolwork, when I got to the point where I was, planning out different things that we can do for the nonprofit, that was so fulfilling to me. But it was okay, well, how do I translate this into a job? Because I'm in school for computer science, but I stuck with it. And I stuck with it because I was I have to, have a good job once I leave out of here, gonna have that family, just want to have this good structure. And so that was my first time where I was wait, I don't think this is what I want to do. So then I graduate college. I'll get more so in this in another video about life after college, because that was a whole nother thing. But even graduating college, just feeling I'm not fulfilled. I'm in this 9-to-5. I'm making pretty decent money. I'm sitting in front of a computer all day. What is my life? I don't like this. And so I realized that as I started to get older and as I started to question how the way things were supposed to be and me not really resonating with it, I feel I went from a place of always having validation because I was always doing the right thing, going to school, just always doing the right thing. And then as I've gotten older, kind of feeling there was less applauses or less validation. And I think just being in my overall journey, specifically in my 20s, I didn't realize that validation is very important to me. And when I don't have validation, I lack confidence. And so when I say validation, I don't mean social media validation, people that I don't know. It's typically more so closed in, more people that I do know. I realized that, when I had that 9-to-5 and I hated it when I came out of school, and I decided, I want to go into different paths, something that actually excites me. Let me get into real estate. Let me become a realtor. I realized that when I wanted to kind of move away from that normal structure of, hey, maybe I want to focus on being an entrepreneur, there was less applause that was there. And I feel like the lack of validation made me question my own self. Like, okay, is this something that I can do? Am I crazy for wanting to do this? Even when it came to Memories Foundation and wanting to give back to youth and foster care, like, at this time I wasn't married. I was not happy in my 9 to 5, and just kind of being in a place where I was just not following the norm. Didn't like the 9 to 5, wanted to be more in a space of giving back and philanthropy. It just again, and I think during that time as well, in our culture specifically, a lot of times you do get married pretty young. I would say like your early 20s, mid 20s. That's like on average in terms of our family when we get married. And so also being in a space where it's like, okay, what is my ideal family? Like, what does family look like for me? Because it was placed on my heart at 21 to become a foster parent. And so culturally, you don't really hear too many people who are like, oh, I'm gonna go and become a foster parent. Or, yes, a lot of times in the Caribbean culture, your grandparents probably took care of kids that weren't biologically theirs, but it still wasn't like I went and got a license to become a foster parent. And so again, just questioning everything. Like, do I want to do this? Like, what does this look like? Is there a certain age that I'm supposed to be married? I was given these things and kind of like your steps to what is considered success, but my thoughts of success just look so different. And so I think, again, as I started to kind of go down like a different type of path, there was, to me, what felt like a sense of a lack of validation. Like, no, that's not the right thing to do. Even when it came to, wanting to move to Houston, there wasn't much applause there because nobody in my family left like that. Like, you're not married. You, at the time, I think was full-time entrepreneur. You're going to a new city, like doing all of these things that are like, what are you doing? Now, to the typical person, it's probably like, people do that all the time. They go to a new city, they try a new career, this is the norm. But when you're used to a certain structure and you're used to a certain type of steps and you go against that grain, it feels so, it's hard because, again, you are someone that grew up always having validation. Now you're in a space where you are forming kind of who you are, and it may look different from what is around you. And I think just like the lack of applause could definitely be challenging, but learning really to validate yourself. Like, what does that look like? What does it look like to say that what I'm doing right now is not physically hurting anybody? It's not harming anybody in any type of way. Yes, you have to have stability. You have to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. That's definitely the bottom line. So once you know that you're able to take care of yourself and you're not hurting anybody, it's okay what I'm doing. It's okay if it looks different. It's okay if I go into work that may be more fulfilling but may not make as much, but I'm able to take care of myself. Maybe it's okay if, yes, I meet someone and we have biological children and we also have foster children. It's okay if maybe eventually you don't want to go be in the 9 to 5 setting. You want to be a full-time entrepreneur. That's okay. And it may look different for everybody, but you have to validate yourself. And so I think really just being in these 20s and learning what that looks like and just kind of just building that self-confidence, like it's okay. And I think one of the things that helped me a lot in this journey is definitely my relationship with God has been like so important, and just having that relationship and always asking for guidance, right? God puts people in your place on earth to help you with that guidance, but also asking him, because sometimes his path that he has for you is totally different from what maybe your family has set for you, or maybe from what's the norm around you. Sometimes you're not supposed to do what everybody else is doing. And so I think just really coming from a place of having that self-confidence. I think also even on a lower level, like say for instance, you wear an outfit and maybe you're going with your close friends or your close family and nobody says anything about your outfit. You may feel like, dang, like I thought I had this thing on. I thought my outfit was looking good, but nobody said anything. Maybe it wasn't as nice as I thought it was. Like, feeling like in little parts of life that you have to be validated. It's like, no, I look fly. I look good. Like this is how I'm coming out. This is how I feel. And so I think just like having that confidence on every part of your life. And I think just even going from the validation part to living a life that you want. I think a lot of times people want to live a great life and And I would just say, for specifically for me, I always ask God, like, I want, like, use me. I want to have an impactful life. But you have to realize, if you want to be used by God and if you want to have an impactful life, your path is going to look so different from everybody else's. You cannot be like everyone else and have an impactful life. I learned that just kind of being in my 20s and kind of people watching and seeing others a lot of times, and it's nothing wrong with it, but a lot of times people do go down that path of going to school and having a 9 to 5 and making sure your family's okay, getting married and having kids. And that is pretty much what your life is, taking care of your family and going on vacation and doing those things. And that is such a beautiful life, and that's such a blessing. But I realized for me personally that my life is a lot more than that. Yes, I want to be married. Yes, I want to have kids. Yes, I want to make sure that myself and my partner is able to provide for the family. But there are people that I want to make sure are okay once I leave this earth. I pray that in the foster care space, in the anti-trafficking space, that something shifts. Like, yes, I want the family, but I want the impact as well. I want to change. Like, I know people say, like, you can change the world. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I do want to do that in the way of fighting against human trafficking and working with youth in foster care. And so I realized that even in that space, my path is just going to look so different. My life is going to look so different. And just having that sense of, again, going back to validating yourself. And I think another thing also is that everything that I have done, like any big leap of faith that I have done where I didn't get much of applause or much validation from, has been the most life-changing thing for me. Doesn't mean it was easy, but it has been the most life-changing thing for me. Me wanting to simply become a foster parent, having that thought at the age of 21, having that on my heart, that was life-changing for me. One, because it also helped me form a nonprofit, Memories Foundation. But two, when it came to dating, I always had in the back of my mind foster children, and took that into consideration when I left the relationship. I was like, can kids from other homes be in this type of home? Is this like, I don't know how to explain it without actually getting into detail, so I don't want to get into that, but will kids be safe here? Will this be a great environment for them? Of course, I'm thinking about my own biological children, but I'm also taking into consideration other children. And so I feel like wanting to be a foster parent has been so life-changing. I want to say moving to Houston and going to Houston, Texas has been so life-changing, has not been easy, but oh my goodness, it has just opened my horizons. And so that has been life-changing. Becoming a realtor has been life-changing and learning so much. Although I'm now going into real estate investing, I learned so much from being a realtor. These are all risks that I've taken where, again, it wasn't much applause because it kind of was a bit against the grain, but I am so thankful that I did it. Like, for me, at the end of my life, I want to say, like, dang, you really did that. You did not play it small. Anything that you wanted to do, even if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, you tried it. You at least did it. And so just really looking at my own life and wanting to live a life of again, impact, and living a life that makes sense for me and what I want to do. I want to take risks. I want to, change dynamics in this world, the way that I came in. I want it to look different when I leave. I want to experience the things. And so I think, again, it boils down to validating yourself. And that's just kind of where I wanted to go with that. Just, wanting to come from a place of validation, not really having validation when you are doing things that may be on a different path than what may be around you. And then learning to have that self-confidence, but also knowing, like, wait, my path may look completely different from somebody else's. And so just even in the work today, and again, that doesn't mean you're better than anyone, but I do think that sometimes when you are called to something bigger or something different, again, things may look a lot different for you. And so that's just a conversation that I've been having with myself lately. That's some conversations that I've been having with my friends lately, and just kind of really doing an overall look at just what is life like. One, why am I here? What is my purpose? What are the leaps of faith that I'm taking in this life? Because at the end of the day, there's gonna be a final day. And at that final day, like, are you gonna be able to say, like, I did that, like, I took those risks, I always wanted to do this and I tried it, and maybe it didn't work out, maybe it did, maybe that was life-changing. And so I want to make sure that I'm not living a safe life. Of course, safe in the sense of, making sure the bases are taken care of and families taken care of, but really just like, did I do all the things? Maybe you want to change the world in the foster care space or the anti-trafficking space, or maybe you want to be a multimillionaire or a billionaire, or maybe you want to be an athlete or a sports analyst. Like, what do you want to do? And you can do it. But just knowing that sometimes that path may look different, and just you have to get that confidence within. And again, for me, I do that by strengthening my relationship with God. I would also say YouTube has been a really good help for me too, in actually watching interviews from people that are doing things that I aspire to do, or maybe they're not in the same industry, but they have done such a great thing in their industry that it's super inspiring, and hearing their story. And so one person I love is Pinky Cole. She is the CEO of a restaurant called Slutty Vegan. I'm sure you all heard of her, and I love her testimony and how she had a really great job, and she was working in her industry and was like, decided to open up this restaurant, which was a big risk, had her challenges along the way, and then look at what Slutty Vegan is today. They have 14 locations now, probably more. And just to see where she is, and now she's married and she has a family, and she met a partner who is also on that same journey, and they're both building together and also separately. They all both have their separate restaurants as well. It's so amazing to see that. And so listening to people, listening to podcasts, listening to YouTubers or people on YouTube who have just went against the grain, who didn't play life safe. And every single story that I've listened to, there was a lack of validation in everyone's story. Like, you sure you want to do that? You're kind of crazy for wanting to do that. And you just do it. And so a lot of times it didn't work, or it didn't work out the first time or the second time, maybe it worked out the third time, but just also listening to other people's stories has been super inspiring as well. I haven't really gotten to the space of actually networking with people who are doing the same thing that I'm looking to do as of yet, but I definitely will add that on the list as well, because just honestly being around people who are game changers or doing things against the grain, and you just kind of got to call these shots. Like, you literally, like, you're not going to get this all the time. What is life like when the applause goes away? What does that look like? Are you still going to keep going? And so I think that's just where I am in my journey. Again, just to summarize it, getting the self-confidence to just keep pushing forward. Everything is not going to look like everyone else. And you got to have like this focus on just yourself. It's like you against you. You cannot look at what everybody else is doing, because I think that's also causes a lot of distraction as well. But it's like, all right, God, what am I called to do? And then you just go forth and do it. And at this time, God, this may look crazy to somebody else, and I might not be getting that applause. And I might need that applause from other people, but validate me in what I'm doing. And so that is just my topic for today, about validation and just living a life. And just kind of, again, this is not more so of these are the steps that you need to do X, Y, and Z, because this is, again, Brianna Thizard's journey, and I'm still on a journey. I don't feel like I have arrived at all. I think I've learned a lot, and I'm continuing to learn, but I'm just sharing my journey. This may resonate with somebody who may also be on the same journey, who is, sometimes may need validation, or coming out of that phase of like validation or people pleasing, and learning to do things on their own terms. So if this resonates with you, please comment if it does resonate with you. But of course, I post videos every Sunday. So if you know anybody who would be interested, please comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you next Sunday. So I will see you. Thank you, and have a happy Sunday.